Surfing, skimboarding, wave jumping, and building sandcastles are only a few of the most fun things to do at the beach. Imagine one day you're at the beach with your friends and family just having fun and playing around when you hear the town siren go off to warn of a possible tsunami. Would you know what to do? Would you have told your kids what to do to stay safe? Would you be able to help your friends and family get to a safe spot? Having a better understanding of what causes tsunamis, the characteristics of the ocean surrounding the time of a tsunami, and the general safety tips will make you feel more confident in your survival chances if you ever find yourself in the path of a tsunami. I will be discussing this topic because I've lived in Oregon my whole life, and I spend many days at the beach. Dr. George Priest, a coastal geologist with the Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, says that the recurrence rate for tsunamis is anywhere from 300 to 600 years. The last major tsunami to strike the Oregon coast was in 1700, so that puts us in the time frame for the next tsunami to be striking. Hopefully, if you're at the coast when the next tsunami does hit, you'll remember what I have to say, because how a tsunami works and how to keep yourself safe is very important to know. The online Webster's Dictionary defines a tsunami as a large destructive wave, especially one caused by an earthquake. While this is true, this general definition doesn't nearly give the picture of how devastating and destructive a tsunami can really be. In the next few minutes, I'll be talking about observable natural warning signs before a tsunami, the process of a tsunami, and what triggers the devastatingly huge waves, and finally some safety tips. To start off, I'm going to tell you 3 of the most obvious signs, natural warning signs, that are very observable before a tsunami hits. These are described in an online disaster center paper. The first sign you could hear and maybe even slightly feel. It's been described as an eerie rumbling that comes from beneath the ground. The second natural warning sign is a coastal earthquake. The worse the earthquake is, the more chance there is that there's going to be a tsunami. Also, if the earthquake's really bad, the tsunami could also be worse than the earthquake. And thirdly, you might notice that the ocean tide is suddenly having much further, the tides are much further back than normal. That's a huge sign that you need to get out of there quickly. So next, I'm going to describe the process of a tsunami and what causes the waves to get so big. There are subduction zones throughout the ocean where certain plates try to pass by one another. According to the Oregon Department of Geology and Mineral Services, the Juan de Fuca plate, which is right here, runs parallel to the Oregon coast, as you can see, and at the closest distance it's 32 miles away from the dry Oregon stand. At the farthest distance it's about 75 miles away. So the Juan de Fuca plate is flipping under the North American plate, and it builds up friction, and eventually it's going to snap, thrusting part of the ocean floor upward along with all the water. So that's the first step that begins to create the huge wave. The second step has to do with why the tide goes out. Since much of the water is thrusted upward so fast, it basically pulls water from the entire ocean to this subduction zone. So if there was an earthquake right here, we would see the tide all along the Oregon coast pulled far back. So this is actually during a tsunami, but right here you can see that this is where the tide usually is, and right here looks like a drop-off point actually. So it goes so far back, like if you were at the beach you wouldn't not notice that. And that's another picture of how far back it goes. So these waves can start out as small as 1 to 4 feet in the middle of the ocean, but they can travel up to speeds of 500 miles per hour. And if you're in the middle of the ocean when it starts, the waves go unnoticed by ships and boats that are out there. So that's actually the most ideal place to be when a tsunami strikes. As the waves approach land, they're typically between 10 and 20 feet, and that doesn't sound very big, but it's actually surprisingly devastating. Some waves have even been recorded as being up to 100 feet tall, so if you can see what kind of damage a 20-foot tsunami causes, you can only imagine how much a 100-foot would cause. So as the waves approach land, they slow down, and the back of the wave catches up to the front of the wave, which creates the height. So even though it slows down, once you see the wave coming, you basically need to grab onto something that floats because no humans can outrun a tsunami wave. The third thing you should know about the natural processes of a tsunami is that it's not just one wave, it's a series of waves. The waves can strike land with up to an hour in between each wave. So just because the first one is past and you don't see another one coming, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's over. And the second and third waves may be even bigger than the first one, so don't let your guard down. You should only leave your safe spot if you have one when you hear town officials or state officials giving a notice. Lastly, I'll explain some ways to help keep yourself safe if you find yourself in the path of a possible tsunami. I'm choosing 3 of the best and most plausible choices listed in Witch Hazel's online How to Survive a Tsunami article and chart. If you see the natural warning signs of a tsunami, or if the town siren goes off, the best thing that you can do is to go inland and up if you can. A hill or a mountain is the most ideal choice. If it's not an option because of too many people panicking and too much traffic and all the chaos that goes along with it, then the next best thing to do would be to get to the top floor of a building, or better yet, the roof. And also, a strong tree branch could be used as a choice. And my last important tip would be to grab something that floats as soon as possible. This is really important if you think there's a chance that you're going to be swept up in the water. Not necessarily because you could drown, but because there's so much cars and pieces of buildings and just debris floating around and slamming into each other that you need to be able to float and keep yourself safe. Don't forget that if you're in a boat and you hear something about a tsunami, to get to deeper water as fast as possible. So this is a picture of somebody who was in a tsunami near the Indian Ocean. I think it said he actually survived, but obviously there's nothing that he could do to get away, but if he passes something that floats or a tree, he needs to just try and grab on. So hopefully now you all know a little bit more about the warning signs before a tsunami, the process and what triggers devastatingly huge waves, and some ways to keep yourself safe. When you visit the coast in the future, by all means I hope you have a great time, but I also hope you're observant and recognize the normal ocean behaviors and natural characteristics, because if you're in danger in a tsunami, you need to recognize that you're in danger so that you're able to take the best course of action. I've discussed this to tell you a little bit more about how to recognize those signs of the natural disaster of a tsunami, and so that you can do all that you can do to take safety precautions. So in conclusion, the next time you go to the beach, hopefully you'll be more observant as to the environment and what's going on around you. Something as simple as knowing where higher ground is could end up saving your life.